Verizon IndyCar Series gets back to business on a track that could not be any more opposite than the one they raced a week ago. The super smooth Indianapolis 500 Oval, and here to the City Park streets.
One is a mental exercise, the other one is going to be physical. Indianapolis, 235 miles an hour. Here, top speed 165, but you are going to be physically beaten by the time that you are done.
Oh, they are diametrically opposite. Indy is, like you said, very smooth, and you're always hunting that draft so you can get above 230 miles an hour. Here, the key is just staying away from these walls, guarding your position, and making it good over the bumps, because it is a very bumpy circuit.
There is the aerial view of the race course. For a visor cam view, Elio Castroneves took us for a tour earlier.
Okay, everybody, I'm Elio Castroneves. Let's go around Detroit Grand Prix. Let's take a lap. We approach turn 1, fourth gear, light braking, very tough. Coming out of the exit in fourth, go to fifth. We get about 165 here. Second gear. Third, light braking again. Little slippery concrete. Now we're going to turn 5. And then 6. A very fast, complex back straightaway. They smoothed out the track here. Second gear, very tough, complex to the fountain. Now getting ready to close up the lap, turn 11 and 12. Third gear, and here we go. Super fun.
Three-time winner here at the Raceway at Belle Isle, Elio Castroneves. Now, he talked about they did some work to smooth out parts of the track. The long backstretch between turns 6 and 7 down the Strand, as it is, alongside the river. They've done some grinding on some of the bumpier parts here. You'll still see the cars moving up and down as they go over the normal rise and fall of the road, but what made the cars really chatter underneath the driver, a lot of that has been smoothed out between last season and this.
And drivers are really appreciating what Roger Penske and the group has done here at this racetrack, but it is a street circuit. You are racing on a circuit that you're going over manhole covers. You can only expect that it's going to be rough. It's not a permanent type of circuit.
And let's not forget, it's very cold here in the winter, so every time you do it, you have a new set of problems and you go race there again.
Roger Penske heads the group that promotes the Detroit Grand Prix. So down trackside, the drivers are all buckled in, a field of 22 ready to go, the 70-lap distance in race 1 of 2 in the Detroit Grand Prix. Could it be Alexander Rossi's day? Perhaps James Hinchcliffe? They're all waiting for the words to fire their engines and get the race underway. Let's go trackside.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Please welcome guard for your Detroit Lions, T.J. Lang.
All right, fans, are you ready? Drivers, start your engines!
I like it. Appropriate energy for the command to start engines. Go and race in the Verizon IndyCar Series in Detroit. Green flag is next. Race cars on the race course, the Raceway at Belle Isle Park, as the Verizon IndyCar Series goes in the Detroit Grand Prix. Starting lineup coming across the top of your screen. We gave you the front row story earlier, but it's Ray Hall with a new track record on pole position today. Onboard cameras, Tony Kanaan will have the NTT data camera starting 15th. Marco Andretti with the AutoNation camera starting 13th. Here's Ryan Hunter-Reay with an AutoNation camera starting in 12th. And Simon Pagenaud, last year's champion, with a Verizon onboard in 7th. James Hinchcliffe has the Lucas Oil camera starting 5th. We have cameras in all of the top 5 starters. Alexander Rossi has the AutoNation onboard starting 4th. Takuma Sato has the Honda onboard starting 3rd. And the front row, Helio Castroneves with a Verizon onboard starting 2nd, and Graham Rahal with the turnsfortroops.com camera starting in 1st position. So strategy will be a huge part of deciding the winner of this race. Look at the different strategies taken by the 2 race winners here a year ago. 4 stops for Sebastian Bourdais and 2 stops for Will Power. Jan Beekes on pit road has more on what we'll see today.
And Alan, how you choose that strategy really depends on where you're running on the racetrack. If you're a leader, you're going to be very hesitant to peel off and make an early pit stop. But if you're running mid-pack to the rear, why not go for a 3-stop strategy? Come in early, get some tires, you'll be faster on the racetrack, and then if you catch a caution, look, that probability starts to go up as the race goes on. That can vault you to the front, but that's what people don't know, when or if a caution might come out. Doc?
You know, it's hard to believe that Helio Castroneves, one of the sport's most popular and talented drivers, is nursing a 50-race winless streak, which makes last week's runner-up finish in the Indy 500 that much more of a heartbreaker. You know, everyone here thinks that could end this weekend. It's good that he starts up front, but historically, this track has been very, very good to him. His last victory lane in IndyCar came here in 2014. His very first win came here back in 2000. In fact, that's the first time he ever climbed a fence. Yes. Spider-Man was born here at Belle Isle, and he just might return here today. Alan?
All right, Doc, doubling up for the start. There's a turn right after the start-finish line and turn 3 at the end of the first long straightaway. A reminder, Spanish commentary available by activating the SAP button on your television, presented by ESPN Deportes. Ray Hall and Castroneves coming to the start of the Detroit Grand Prix. Oh, trouble. Hinchcliffe gets turned in turn 2. Castroneves inside of Ray Hall, turn 3. Ray Hall holds him off.
I don't think Hinchcliffe has any damage to his car. It's just barely punted.
His track position was damaged. Right now, just a local yellow in turn 2.
As we watch all these cars go around, guys, just watch how bumpy this race circuit is, as we see from James Hinchcliffe. He's telling these guys, I need to get started, because if it's a local yellow and the group goes past, he will be down a lap.
Caution is out.
Full course yellow.
Now that's the benefit for James. He hopes now they'll have him started before the group gets along. Pace car will come out. He'll be able to follow in at the back of the group.
So great difficulty there for Hinchcliffe, who started 5th, got turned out of traffic in that first right-left complex turns 1 and 2. And now the field under the yellow flag. Back to Jan's strategy that might come into play on this caution, as we see Hinch get started up and sent away.
What we're going to look for here, guys, is James Hinchcliffe in the number 5 car, hustling into turn 1 at a high speed. The gold car on the top, third one on the inside, heading into turn 1. Back end comes around, and that is actually something that just happens by himself, was not contacted by another car. This is what we call a loose race car. He's dealing with it now, hoping it returns. He cannot get it corrected. And as we ride along with this onboard here, let's listen.
King in, you're just outside, clear.
The back just came out from under him.
Wow.
Yeah. As we watch from Simon Pagenaud look forward. Yeah, and Eddie, as a driver right now, he'll be thinking that somebody contacted him as easy as that back end came around. He's probably on the radio right now going, man, I think I got hit.
But this place does not have a lot of grip, and when your tires are cold like that, I guess if you turn the steering wheel aggressively, that could happen. Everybody is on edge when they're at Detroit in turn 1 and 2. They're two of the most difficult corners that you can do, even when your tires are hot. Can you imagine how slippery it is?
Okay, so the pace cars collected the field. The pit road will be open this time by. We talked about strategy. Two types of tires in the race. The primary tire, the black sidewalls, the red tire, sidewall tires, the softer tires. A lot of teams not wanting to stay on those red tires for much longer than they have to. But we'll see. Our ESPN race strategist says from 15th on back on this field should pit now. What are you hearing, Jan?
I think we will see some of that. The leaders, as I said, will not want to give up their track position. And obviously, unfortunately, as you see Hinchcliffe making his way back to pit lane, if he lost a lap, that's not really a case for him. All these that have the track position you see, I doubt they'll peel onto pit road, but about 10th to 15th back, there are some that are set up, and we'll see if some dive to pit road and go for this early strategy that could pay later in the race. Again, it'll be someone deep in the field. We're still looking, and here comes a few.
1, 2, just 3. I'm kind of surprised by that. Thought we might see more. It's Spencer Pigot, Michael Aloshin, and Oriol Servia come in. There's Aloshin. Rick?
Well, Michael Aloshin was the guy who caused that yellow flag. He lost his fastest lap in qualifying. As a result, the idea is come in now, get to those black side tires that they think will do much better for the long haul for this race. Jan?
Hinchcliffe, of course, is getting service. They're checking over the front of the car. You heard the radio transmissions. Now there's a bit of a problem with the left front. Again, no real panic here because being down a lap, he will now need a miracle to find his way and vault his way through. But no change of the nose. Everything seems A-OK aerodynamically.
Yeah, we'll check that, Jan. I believe they got him away before he lost a lap, so he should still be on the lead lap. He just went from 5th, where he was running at the start, to 22nd.
I haven't seen many cars spin at the start of Detroit in 1 and 2 and not have at least the front nose broken. So he got away, I would say, almost free.
Our visor cam should be tremendously riveting today because you will get to see just how demanding this course is as the driver sees it and feels it.
Well, as a previous driver, I can tell you it's exactly what we see, but if you're sitting at home on your couch, you're not going to get punished going over the bumps as we do when we sit in the car. I used to always take 2 Advils before I started the race here and probably some more at night, and these guys will be doing it not only today but also tomorrow.
Wasn't that 2 Advils you were taking before the start of the broadcast too?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to interpret that.
There you go.
All right, coming to the restart. Pace car pulls away. And Graham Rahal, who said if he could qualify up front, he thought he had the chance to win this race. Well, he started on pole position, held off Castroneves on the initial start, and here he comes to lead the field to the restart.
Green, green, green.
Just a lot of tight maneuvering going on right now.
Cars need at least another half a lap to get the tire temperatures up to where they're operating properly.
What's happening up front is Graham Rahal's really wanting to prove that he's a strong contender, has had a strong season, maybe not as strong as he'd like to, a small team as we like to say with only 1 entry generally. He's got 2 this weekend with Oriol Servia. But the guy that's in second, Helio Castroneves, is driving for Roger Penske, who is the man here in Detroit and who is putting on this race. And there's no doubt that he wanted to be the guy to get to the line first, not only the start and also the restart.
And don't forget, Castroneves just finished second at Indianapolis, so he definitely has a head of steam when it comes to here to Detroit. He's been so successful here. His driving suits this place. This is not an easy racetrack.
three-time winner here, and he said when asked about it earlier this weekend that there's just something about the track from the first time he got here that has suited him. See, everyone is sorted out off the start. Ooh, a little wiggle there from Kanaan coming into one.
And we talked about the bumps. You can see the back end of his car is just flying over turn 2 in the air a little bit. That's called a loose condition when the back end wants to come around on you. And it's very difficult to keep under control. Some passing going on the back. Mikhail Aloshin doing a good job. Remember, he was just in the pit lane, marching his way forward.
The 18 that he went around, Aloshin, is Esteban Gutierrez, the former Formula One driver for the Haas F1 team, and for Sauber, who is making his IndyCar debut today. Dale Coyne says he hopes to have Gutierrez in the car for the rest of the season, but it's not done yet. Hinch trying to make his way back forward as well in the 5.
Even when you start far back like this, you have to be very careful that you pick the right opportunity to pass, because there just is not enough room for 2 cars around this circuit in many of the corners.
There's Gutierrez in the 18, of course, subbing for Sebastian Bourdais. We wish Seb the best as he continues his rehab and recovery. Seb says he wants to be back by the end of the season for the finale at Sonoma, and we wish him all nothing but the best as he rehabs from that terrible crash in Indianapolis.
Speaking with Esteban last night, it was interesting. He said when he was karting, he was watching the IndyCar series and was watching a guy win all those championships with Sebastian Bourdais. He noticed he was wearing glasses, and Esteban wears glasses, so he said, I got on the line, went on the website, sent a note to his website and said, what do you do with wearing glasses? And he said, I got a reply back about what to do when you're a driver wearing glasses. He said, Sebastian Bourdais replied to me, he said, I was amazed. And he says, now I'm driving his race car. Pretty cool, he thought.
So after the turn 2 lap 1 spin from Hinchcliffe, we have restarted and gone green, but very early in today's Detroit Grand Prix race, the first of 2 from the Motor City. In our side-by-side coverage, you saw Tony Kanaan pit, now back in 22nd place, 36 seconds behind the race leaders in this early stage of the Detroit Grand Prix. Our Honda telemetry shows you that you carry a pretty good pace around here.
And for Tony, his car was probably getting so loose. Remember, we mentioned that the back end was trying to come around on it. He maybe thought that it was going to come around so easily he might crash, so he took out a different strategy here coming in and putting on the primary tires, which is the black sidewall tires, which have more longevity. So for him, it's just a different strategy. You'll have to see if it plays out.
Pretty good race for the lead.
Rahal and Castroneves are going at it. What Rahal has to do is just focus on the road ahead of him. And Castroneves' job is to make sure he forces Rahal to look in his mirrors as much as he possibly can. Because when a driver starts looking in their mirrors, that's when there's potential to miss your braking mark by 10 feet, 15 feet. And that's when the car behind him is on you. And Castroneves, after finishing second at the 500, is dying to win here.
Scott mentioned tires. Again, the rule is each team has to run each of the compounds of tires, not the rain tires, at least once during the race under green flag conditions. Pit strategy here, Jan.
Yes, and Marco Andretti, as we just saw Tony Kanaan do the same thing. These are the cars that don't have the pace or don't have the position. They're going with that three-stop strategy that we spoke of. The black sidewalls, the primary that you were just talking about, those are known to be the fastest race tire. So if you're not running fast today, come in early and get your race pace going, but you give up a lot of track position. And Alan, you were exactly correct. Hinchcliffe did not lose a lap, my bad. He is on the lead lap, so he's on a similar strategy to these other two.
Nothing going on down there, Jan. Come on. We're all good here. All right, so Graham Rahal out in front, leading this race. More on the 15 from Rick.
Well, let's talk about the fact that they're already talking about fuel. In fact, both the leader of the race, Graham Rahal, his team has been feeding him a fuel number. And with Takuma Sato, who's back in third, they've been feeding him a fuel number as well. Now, real interesting to point out that last night, Graham Rahal's team had to change a gearbox. Think about this. They were first in the first session, second in the second session, but in that second session, the gearbox began to overheat. So last night, because of an issue, they had to change the gearbox. So hopefully, it's going to run great during this race. Doc? And here is Ryan Hunter-Reay, a scheduled pit stop. This will make it a 3 pit stop race for Hunter-Reay. They started on the used reds. They will peel those off and put the blacks on the primary tire. Now he can run as hard as he wants to go. Front wing adjustment for Hunter-Reay. Away first of 3 stops for the day.
All right, Doc, there's Hinch getting by Ed Jones. Had that phenomenal finish last weekend at the Indy 500. Jones did. It's kind of been struggling with pace here all weekend. I talked to Ed this morning. He said, we just think there has to be something wrong with the car because we just can't get it to go. And so the driver who some felt should have been the Indy 500 Rookie of the Year.
I voted for him.
Fernando Alonso having a little bit of a struggle here in Detroit. I want to talk more about this strategy thing for just a minute. Our ESPN race strategist has put some numbers to what's going on here. If the race stays green, a 2-stop strategy is about 6.5 seconds faster than the 3-stop strategy because you're slower on the track, but you don't spend as much time on pit road. So you're measuring and calculating this race out in time if you're the engineers. And as far as the tires are concerned, based on the practice data, the red sidewall tires that Joseph Newgarden is going to get changed right here will be slower than the black primary tires by about 6 laps from their beginning of use, Doc.
Yeah, exactly, Alan. And the red tires, the alternate tires, were slowing down so much. In practice, they only lasted 4 or 5 laps, and he had to come in because he was dropping back, get the black walls on. Now he's good to go, but he's going to have to make 2 more stops.
And those tires are doing as designed, as you guys mentioned. So the drivers love them for qualifying because it gives you the ultimate grip, the ultimate braking. It gives you the ultimate speed around the racetrack. But then when it gets a little bit warm and the tires start to get hot and you start to wear quickly, you get to the blacks, as mentioned. Some great battling going on here.
Kanaan and Marco.
Kanaan and Marco, that's a very explosive duo to be racing against each other.
Now this is a little bit deep in the pack. These are all cars that just made the green flag pit stops. Hunter-Reay there in the yellow and red 28 car. He's in 19th place. Marco's in 20th. Kanaan is in 21st. Graham Rahal has led every lap from pole position. Still pretty early on in the Detroit Grand Prix. We're back to the Motor City after this word from your ABC station. The NBA Finals on ABC continue tomorrow night. Game 2 between Cleveland and Golden State. Warriors up 1-0 following their 22-point win in Game 1. Coverage at 7:30 with NBA Countdown and streaming live on the ESPN app. Second place, Helio Castroneves is on pit road under green here at lap number 13, Doc.
And again, the red tires beginning to go away, and Roger Penske, who calls the race for Helio Castroneves, said, come in, let's put the blacks on. That'll obligate them to a 3-stop race, getting full of fuel down and away. Normal stop for Castroneves, a 3-time winner here.
We'll see where he blends in line and how that plays with whatever Graham Rahal's team does. Will Power picking up a spot on Max Chilton. Power surprisingly a little deeper in the field in qualifying, only started 11th in this race. Winner here a year ago, winner of the most recent road course race on the series, on the road course at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And now Power just moved up to the 5th position.
The guy I'm looking at right there is the number 4, Connor Daly, in the ABC Supply Machine. Started 16th, guys. He's already up to 7th. Remember, he started on the regular black sidewall tires, which give you that longevity for the pace. Seems like he's got great pace, and he's just starting to pick up these guys that have been running on the red tires and maybe starting to slow up a bit.
Yeah, the only car in the field that started on the primary tires. So he's got better speed in his tires in theory now than the guys that are out there on the alternates, but he still has to put the softer tires on at some point in this race.
But if you wait till later in the race, there'll be more rubber on the circuit and the red tires might last longer. When the track is green like this, you really go through your tires quickly. But going back to Daly, he's really good on a circuit like this. Last year he did particularly well.
It was his best ever IndyCar result. Finished 2nd here in one of the 2 races a year ago.
And did I mention he's built like an ox? I mean, this for him is easy.
Yeah, he's the guy you want to take out at night to the bar.
His head just rests on his shoulder. There is no neck.
Remember that James Hinchcliffe had that spin in turn 2 on lap number 1. A combination of things, others making pit stops, but also him having the 5th fastest car in qualifying has seen him gain some of that track position back, Jan.
Yes, and he just radioed back to the team saying the balance is good. And in fact, it says, over the weekend, I've had good balance, but as you see, these concrete surfaces they're going across, he says, ultimately, on these black sidewall primary Firestone, I've been lacking a little bit of grip, but they seem to have found something for the race. Alan McDonald, his engineer, had said, I'm very concerned about the black pace of the Penske's. Once those Penske's, we just saw Castroneves put them on, I'm not sure that we can say with them, but right now, he likes what he has.
All right, Jan, so as Hinchcliffe is up to the 10th position, here's the Indy 500 winner in, Rick.
Takuma Sato brings the car in. He likes it so far. No wing adjustments. But once again, this is a question now as to what they're going to have to do for the strategy. Now, Graham Rahal's literally on a different strategy than the guy who was just running 2nd place.
All right, so Sato is in. Max Chilton is also on the pit lane. That's him in the background, and he'll be coming back out to rejoin the fight as well. Hinchcliffe and J.R. Hildebrand.
Hinchcliffe is doing the perfect job. When you're that far back in the grid, because if you spin or whatever reason, you cannot think of your position, Scott. You have to think of passing the car that's ahead of you and then moving on to the next one. And if you do that long enough, a driver of his talent, I think, will be in probably the top 6 here soon.
There's Sato back off the pit lane and meshing right in. The 1 car of Simon Pagenaud, a little different paint scheme this weekend for last year's series champion. Black and white car at the tail end of this group of 4. Made his pit stop earlier at lap 12. Sorry about that. Simon started the race in 7th spot.
And he wasn't very happy with that. I spoke to him after qualifying. Feel that he got balked just a little bit on his quick lap. Thought he had a shot at the front row. So that really doesn't sit well with drivers when you think you had a shot at being up front, especially on a track like this. That track position is everything, as we've always found out on these tight street circuits.
Watching this a little deeper in the pack, while Graham Rahal has an 11-second lead on Alexander Rossi and 13 seconds on Scott Dixon. None of them have pitted yet. The first car to have made a pit stop in the race is Mikhail Aloshin, who cycled up to 6th position just ahead of James Hinchcliffe. Remember, they all pitted on lap 2 after the Hinch spin on the very first lap. There's Joseph Newgarden getting by Spencer Pigot. Newgarden kind of got caught in traffic after they made the early move to pit road and kind of killed his race pace a little bit back there. pit. That is what the ESPN race strategist predicts. ESPN race strategist, we got our own set of analysts and analytics and engineers to do the same things the race team engineers and strategists do for you. Analyze all the numbers, tell you what they expect to happen and what teams should be doing.
And then all the work that they do with this all goes out the window, Eddie, if there's a yellow. So then that's when they start to make their money and have to recalculate everything all over again.
Yes, you've heard that recalculating thing before a time or two.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed being the driver instead of the engineer.
Graham Rahal's enjoying a Saturday drive, but he's still got quite a lot of road ahead of him before the checkered flag. Newgarden's on his push to pass somewhere. I'll try to get inside of Ed. Will Power zooms away.
And you saw that green number on his roll hoop behind his helmet as he's now going to run a bit of a blocking line. And right now that PP that's showing up is showing push to pass, which is a little button on the steering wheel. Drivers have an opportunity to push to get a little bit more extra power, and he was trying to defend by using it.
Falls in line behind Simon Pagenaud on that exchange of pit stops. A look from Pagenaud's car, and a reminder to download IndyCar Mobile to access exclusive live in-car cameras, hear driver and pit crew chatter, and more, only on Verizon.
I've been sitting here looking at the times. Castroneves' last lap is the fastest lap of the race, and he's 1.5 seconds faster than the leader, Rahal.
Castroneves, the first of the cars who have pitted. He's in 7th place right now. Connor Daly is on the pit lane. Jan?
Yes, and of course, Connor Daly, as you have mentioned, the only driver to start on the Firestone primaries. Now he has to put a run in. Yes, he's going to the alternates. He will hope this is a short segment, so to speak, because he knows that the tires he was just on will be faster in race pace. These will be fast at first, but then they will fade.
Yeah, if he can get out there and put in a few laps and then a caution come out.
Boy, this caution is the word we use the most at the start of this race.
But that's the game, right?
I'm old school. I'd rather they're just going as fast as they can and not have to do all this mathematics from the pits. But
Here's Charlie Kimball looking inside of Gutierrez. Caution probability is less than 40% in the next 20 laps of the race.
Oh, look how bumpy it is there, guys.
Just holding on to the steering wheel is hard.
I used to always notice it in my back, you know, the pounding on the seat going up your back, the base of your neck. And as we mentioned earlier in the telecast, that's just after one race. These guys come back and do it again tomorrow on day 2. And I also think of the crew. They've been at Indianapolis all month. They have to get ready for a double header here. And that's really tough on driver and crew.
So Jan, let's talk strategy here on the leader. The longer this race is run green and he's been able to be out there and hold his pace and his lead on these alternate tires, this is all working in his favor if he gets to pit road before the caution comes out, right?
Yes, indeed. This is exactly what you want if you're Graham Rahal or the top 3 or 4 right now. But as you said, if for some reason there were a caution right now, everyone who's already pitted would leapfrog all these leaders. So this is what we call the danger zone.
Yeah.
Right now, he loves where he is, but if there's a caution for any reason, it's going to backfire. And I can tell you, Alexander Rossi is one of these that are now laying out there saying, this is too dangerous. We want to now take new tires.
Well, we're getting into that open window now for the 2-stop strategy. Last year, the winner pitted at 24 for the first time. The race winner on Sunday, Will Power, that just made 2 stops. So you see where we are now at 22. That window is open, and at some point, you're going to bring him in.
Well, we have to acknowledge that Rahal is doing an incredible job this weekend. He's been fast from the moment he got here. He's had a lot of bad luck. He's had multiple punctures this year. And he's just doing what he has to do. His job is to stay in front, and he's doing that with great ease. I know that strategy is going to play in a very, very important part today, but I hope for his case he doesn't get shuffled out. And those yellows they fall by chance.
Hear that his pit crew is laying tires out. So coming up about a half a lap away, we should see the leader on pit road.
Box, confirm. Copy, coming in.
And he comes in with a lead of 14.4 seconds on Rossi.
Got to get there first without a yellow coming out.
And I believe he's done it.
Not quite. Now he's got it. Leader on pit lane. Under green. Rick?
Well, before the race, Graham Rahal told me he felt that he could use these red tires effectively. While they do fall off, he thought he could do a great job on them in terms of making them last. During the race, he said the rears were falling off just a little bit, but he's done the job he needed to do. Jan?
Yes, Alexander Rossi, you'll see him come into the picture as well. He's going to take the same lap for a pit stop for Graham Rahal. He's been on the radio saying this is really hard, meaning it's so hard to keep the red alternate tires underneath him. But again, just like Graham Rahal, they've hit the window. They make a front wing change because of the change of tires. Nice clean stop. That's 9.6 seconds, not lightning fast, but that keeps him in the game.
You saw Helio Castroneves pass by. There is Graham Rahal in line. Scott Dixon is the new leader, followed by Michael Aloshin and James Hinchcliffe. Then Castroneves, Newgarden, Rahal, and Spencer Pigot, as the strategy and the lack of cautions after the opening lap yellow has shuffled the deck a little bit.
I still think it's advantage Dixon at this point. I'm sorry, not Dixon, Rahal.
I just find it amazing that Scott Dixon is here being as competitive as he is.
Yeah.
And, you know, we talked about left foot braking earlier in the show. What changed here many years ago, guys, is that drivers used to use one foot just for gas and brake. And today, now drivers are using the left foot for the brake. So he's got some pain coming in. He's now in pit lane.
What's up for you? Right down here with Blair. Straight in now.
Here's the 4-time champion driving with that battered and bruised left ankle. He will make one more stop. 47 is the next time he'll have to come in. So great fuel mileage, great effort by a beaten up Scott Dixon.
I
Darkus Alexander Rossi just flashed by, and then Dixon falls in line. Can he hold off Oriol Servia and Simon Pagenaud? Servia in the 16.
You heard Pagenaud's car running on the rev limiter just a little bit. He's pushing hard. He wants to get past Servia.
There is your new leader, Mikhail Oloshin, pitted at lap number 2. He has cycled to the front and is leading in Detroit. Caution out as you see Charlie Kimball rolling away from a scene of a spin at the exit of turn 4. Connor Daly is stalled there and waiting for the safety team to get him a restart. So second yellow flag of the race, and front wing damage there for Kimball. There's Daly to get the restart. That's too bad. Connor was having a solid run.
His car looks fine though. Okay.
And there are bits and pieces from Charlie Kimball's car that have been left behind on the race course. Been kind of a difficult weekend for Kimball and 83 team.
Taking a long time to start. I think they have an
can't
issue.
get it fired, yeah.
Yeah, and we don't see any damage on his car. So yeah, he's saying, he just said it's dead. So is there something electronically that's going on? No, they can recycle the ignition on these cars. We're not clear what the problem is, but maybe we'll get more information coming this way.
All right, so the caution is out, and that presents that strategy dilemma for race teams. Not many takers on the pit road here. Well, Charlie Kimball is in for damage repair. But Jan, what are you seeing?
Well, what I'm seeing is that for Castro Neves and Newgarden, 1 and 2 on the racetrack right now, this is not enough caution to make it one more stop. They have 2 stops to go, so it doesn't necessarily help them unless this was an extended yellow. So right now, Rahal, Rossi, Hinchcliffe, Dixon, Oloshin, that group, they're looking good for only 1 more stop. Others, like Sato and Castro Neves, Newgarden, as I mentioned, at the moment, and those behind, have 2 stops in their future.
Yeah, and I think I'll add Will Power and Spencer Pigot to your list. Remember, Pigot stopped at the first caution. on the opening laps, and Will Power also is kind of in that window. He's on the edge of that window. What do you think, Jan? I think Power's kind of on the edge of the two-stop window, right? He pitted at lap 19.
Yes, within my calculations, he is still good. And every lap of caution, that helps Will Power.
Yeah.
You have to drop all the way down, as you said, to Spencer Pigot and Jones as well in a very similar scenario. But all those that stopped way back in those earlier laps now still looking at two stops.
I don't think it's going to be long yellow.
Got some debris to pick up on the racetrack. You see top center of the screen right under the corner workers, the flag marshals. There's some bits on the racetrack that need to be cleaned up before the cars can go back racing again. But just the second yellow flag of this race. So the drivers that started on the front row together have been the headline players, Castroneves and Graham Rahal, but both now on different strategies. There is Newgarden, who again is on that three-stop strategy, who pitted at lap number 10. Pit road is open here. Around the next corner, driver's right is the pit entry, and we'll see if we have any takers.
I know who you won't have. I don't think Rahal will be going in.
Oh, no, he's definitely not. But let's see.
When you recycle through all of this, I think Rahal will still be the leader.
Newgarden from second. And that's it for now. Back to Detroit after this from your ABC station. Reminder that tomorrow, race number 2 of the Detroit Grand Prix, live from here at Belle Isle Park, 3:30 Eastern on ABC, also streaming live on the ESPN app. Race teams after tonight have to spend pretty long hours into the night cleaning the cars up, turning them around, getting them ready for another full day of action here tomorrow in Detroit. Down to pit road, here's Rick.
Well, standing by with Ricardo Nault, who is Graham Rahal's strategist, and let's talk about the fact you've got a two-stop strategy. Are you still comfortable on that?
Yeah, I think we're looking pretty good. Really, there's a guy in front and a guy behind that looking like they have 2 more stops to do to our 1. And there's a big group behind us, about 5 more guys that are on our strategy. You know, we'd have to see how the yellows play out, but the United Reynolds car's holding up really strong. Graham's driving a great race and looking for the win.
Are you comfortable having Helio Castroneves right behind you?
Yeah, that's okay. We can get him.
Ricardo Nault, kind of positive.
Castroneves, the race leader, but again has 2 pit stops remaining. Graham Rahal, 1 pit stop remaining. So the object here, if you're Castroneves, try to use the clean air and get as big a gap as you can on Graham Rahal in case Graham is running with a little leaner fuel setting on his engine mapping. We'll see if Castroneves can make some hay while, I would say, while the sun shines or while the clean air shines on the front wing of his car.
I don't think Rahal wants to sit behind him for too long.
Besides the Indianapolis 500 for Helio Castroneves, he knows that this is the most important race for his team owner, Roger Penske. With all that Roger does in here, I was reading earlier that Roger, Penske Corporation, has spent $13 million revitalizing Belle Isle, where they race here.
There is the captain who calls the strategy for Castroneves. So can he get a gap on the rest of the field? How much fuel does Rahal need to save to make his strategy of just one more stop work? Green flag coming out. Big move inside by Will Power on Pagenaud.
Teammates.
Wow.
Didn't seem like teammates there, did they?
I didn't say friendly teammates, I just said teammates.
I trust you've experienced this before?
I've experienced both.
I know somebody I've experienced it against. He's not going to comment.
These opening laps, these opening laps are so important when you're leading. We haven't paid enough tribute to Castroneves because he is really doing an incredible job. The last 3 races he's been right on pace in front of his teammates. Had an incredible Indy 500, and here we are in Roger Penske's city, and he's leading the race again.
Look at that spot on the track. You see those cars hopping up and down. What's that feel like behind the wheel?
It's very hard to control. I mean, you have to break away from the instinct of taking your foot off the brake, off the throttle, but it's very tiring, and it's just hard to control the car.
The bumpier the circuit, the easier it is to make a mistake. And we talk about braking zones. Eddie, you and I talked about that the other day when we were coming over here. The braking zones here, because they're so bumpy, your foot's acting like the ABS system on your car because you cannot push it too hard or you'll lock the brakes up here. Spencer Pigot on the inside making just a terrific move. 3 wide now.
Andretti. Marco Andretti with a nice move. Welcome to IndyCar, Esteban Gutierrez.
Yes.
In the 18. What a challenge he's bitten off. No test days. Got the ride, came in, never seen this racetrack before, never driven an Indy car before. Go.
And what a nice guy. Like I mentioned, I spoke to him the other night as we see Ryan Hunter-Reay right now, really pushing on Marco. Will he make it stick here? Nope, not being able to get on the inside. For Esteban, his whole goal is to run the whole series, and he would like to go to the next race at Texas, but we know the high banks there are not favorable to rookies, so he's waiting for some type of a waiver from IndyCar to see if he can test there so he can run the Dale Coyne car there next weekend.
He's going to do his first oval at Texas?
That's exactly what I said.
Alonso did his first oval at Indianapolis.
Oh, I'd rather be
Indy.
doing it at Indy. Texas is tough. Texas, it's a great racetrack. Great racetrack, but boy, you sure are close the whole time. It's one big draft.
So this pretty deep in the pack. Marco in the blue and white car is 16th. Hunter-Reay's 17th. He's on the push to pass here. Look at him close the gap.
No, he shuts them down completely.
You know, there again, teammates, track positions, everything. I always say, guys, the guys that are leading at the beginning of this race here, maybe they're driving just as hard, maybe sometimes not as hard. It's the racing that's in the back of the pack when your car is maybe not working as well as it should do, and you're working as hard as you can just to stay maybe in whatever position you're racing in. It doesn't matter where you are on this racetrack, you are being beaten up.
I mean, the problem that Hunter-Reay has right now is that Kanaan is on him, and Kanaan wants to get ahead also. It's on a place like this, it's so hard to keep your eyesight ahead of you when you have a car 10 feet behind you, because if you put your car in the wrong place, you'll get passed by a whole group of cars, and it's so hard to get driver's position here.
I just want to give you perspective. That was a 90-degree right-hand turn on a city street that Tony Kanaan just took at 90 miles an hour. speed limit sign says 25 by the side of the road, by the way, but they're ignoring that today here in Belle Isle. Helio Castroneves is the leader of the Detroit Grand Prix. Simon Pagenaud tied for second in the championship entering this race on what's another huge weekend for championship points. Saw him get shuffled by his teammate, lose a couple spots. Now they've shuffled their strategy, and Pagenaud just on and off pit road with the halfway flag showing in the race. 35 laps down, 35 to go. There's your leader, Helio Castroneves. Our ESPN race strategist projecting that we should see Castroneves in now or very shortly. He's only opened up a 5.5 second gap on Graham Rahal. Here he comes. Here he is, Doc.
And he will need one more stop. Roger Penske calling him in. They will take blacks off, put black stickers back on. Castroneves, a three-time winner here, trying to get his fourth victory. First win in 50 races. He's down and away, and will need one more stop here in another 24 laps.
And that was a quick stop.
Trying to hold off Spencer Pigot here in line. This would be for 12th and 13th place.
Castroneves will have none of it. Another 2 corners and his tires will be up to temperature.
So Helio from plus 5 seconds to minus 18 seconds with the trip down pit road.
And between Rahal and Sato, who's running second, there's a 4.4 second gap. So this race is still open.
So just across the midway point of this race, there is Graham Rahal. He has led 25 of the 37 laps that we have completed. There's the gap back to Takuma Sato, the Indianapolis 500 winner, 4.5 seconds behind Rahal in second. There's Rossi in third, Hinchcliffe in fourth. Remember, Hinch got spun from fifth starting place, turn 2, lap 1. Scott Dixon running fifth. Then Mikhail Aloshin in sixth rounds out this lead group. You saw Connor Daly's car in the background of that last corner. Daly did get out of the car. They said that the team tells us it just shut off. They can't figure out why. So Connor Daly is out of the race. Let's get some updates on some of these lead cars. Rick DeBrule is covering Graham Rahal.
So far, Graham Rahal likes the car. In fact, they made no changes that last stop. It's important to point out he has finished second here, he has finished third here, has finished fourth here. This is a track he likes. Oh yeah, and there's one other thing. His father, Bobby, actually won here back in 1992. There is a definite hunger in the Rahal camp to pull this one off. Now, Takuma Sato behind him is on a different strategy, whereas Rahal only has to go one more stop. Sato is definitely going to have to go 2 more stops. However, once again, Sato's been happy with the car in terms of the way it's performing, so no issues, other than the fact that he knows he has 2 more stops left in his race. Jan?
And yes, that's the radio conversation for Alexander Rossi with his team. Of course, Takuma Sato being a team car, he says, what kind of strategy is Takuma on? He said, don't worry, he's on a different strategy. You only have to stop one more time, Takuma too. So virtually, he's running ahead of Takuma Sato. Now behind, James Hinchcliffe, amazing run for him. And again, the fact that the safety team got him restarted, again, I thought at first he had lost the lap. He did not. So he is in contention, and he is on the same fuel strategy right now as Alexander Rossi. So a testament to the crew to get him restarted with no damage. Now he's a player, and a good player, for a top 3. Doc?
And talking about Scott Dixon, what an incredible comeback this week on crutches most of the week. An injury to the inside of his left ankle in the tibia, the large weight-bearing bone in the lower leg. He said, I can push the brake pedal. It's pulling my foot off the brake pedal. That's a problem in being able to tether the brakes. Just how much pressure you put on the brake pedal allows you to turn the corner and also gently release the brake coming off. He said, I'm having a little trouble feeling the brake pedal with the swelling and numbness, but Dixon hanging on in 5th spot. Alan?
All right, Doc, thanks. And so a tremendous drive as a bid here. Hinchcliffe with a peek inside of Rossi. That was for 3rd place. Rossi will shut the door and hang on. 31 laps to go. And a lot still to be decided here in the Detroit Grand Prix. Can Graham Rahal get his first win of this season? Race number 2 of the Detroit Grand Prix doubleheader is tomorrow here on ABC, streaming live on the ESPN app. We're at 3:30 Eastern Time. We will see the outcome of today's race, and then they'll do it all over again. Huge weekend in the championship for the Verizon IndyCar Series. Last 2 weeks actually, with qualifications and then the double points Indianapolis 500, and then the 2 races this weekend. In a short period of time, a major impact on the overall series title.
And if Rahal keeps this pace up, he's going to make a big jump forward in the championship.
You saw Takuma Sato on pit road under the green flag. Now he's back into the thick of it behind this group in 16th place. He pitted from 2nd. It's Marco Andretti. We've seen this group a lot today because they've been doing some of the diciest racing, if you will.
For 13th, no, for 12th, all the way down to 15th.
Yeah. Charlie Kimball obviously back underway after the spin around earlier, though he did lose a lap in getting refired and getting back around to the pit lane in that green and black 83 car.
This is a very impressive run from Rahal.
You wonder at this point, as we watch Gutierrez there in the 18 running behind Sato, the learning curve and what he knows now that he didn't know at the beginning of this race, his first IndyCar race. Let's go back up front to Graham Rahal and check in with him.
Car's just really coming to me for whatever reason. It's that setup that he puts on.
And that is not what the other competitors in this race want to hear. Once again, the car is actually getting better. Now, a moment ago, however, they were giving him updates about Alexander Rossi behind him. They know that's who he's racing with. So they were telling him about the fact that once Rossi got by one of the cars he needed to get by, he's now starting to do similar times to what Graham Rahal is doing. So that's the race for right now. This guy right here, Graham Rahal and Alexander Rossi, they know they're competing for this victory, and Graham wants it really bad.
Well, he's got an 8-second lead on Rossi, and he's got another advantage. He's got his full complement of that extra horsepower with the push-to-pass option and the button on his steering wheel. He hasn't touched it yet in this race, while Rossi's burned a minute of it, and he's got a minute and a half left.
I thought you were talking about that extra horsepower that Honda has.
Well, they're both in Hondas, so. Remember
the top 5 cars are Hondas. The first Chevy is 6th with Newgarden.
Now, part of that is strategy.
Yes.
Part of it, but not, I mean, Rahal started on pole, and they set the 2-stop strategy, and he's been able to make it work. He ran that first stint on the softer tires, not only kept the lead, but kept his pace, and that's been the magic right now.
But one thing that's undeniable is that Rahal is in a class of his own so far. And we have 26 laps to go.
Now the fuel window for Rahal and these guys on the 2-stop strategy will begin to open in about another lap or so and last for about 5-6 laps depending on what they've been doing on the racetrack. So then you get back into watching for who stops when and how long it takes and how track position might shuffle among some of these front runners. Doc?
And here's Will Power. He's made it 26 last, but he had some yellows. He's going to have to make it now 24, which means he can run pretty hard. Waiting on fuel for a little over 7 seconds, 7.8, to get it completely full of fuel.
Hearing from pit road that it's a couple of laps before we will see Graham Rahal on the pit lane. So we'll take a break from here at the Detroit Grand Prix, come back in time to look for the leader to make what should be his final stop. We're back to the Motor City after this from your ABC station. Nice view of the Detroit Grand Prix. You'll have a pretty good look at the NBA Finals on ABC tomorrow night. Game 2, Cleveland and Golden State. Warriors up 1-0 after their very dominant win in game number 1. We start at 7:30 with NBA Countdown, and of course it streams live on the ESPN app. 23 laps to go, waiting on a final pit stop from the race leader and another round of strategy to be played here in the Detroit Grand Prix. Alan Bestwick, Eddie Cheever, Scott Goodyear with you today. Dr. Jerry Punch, Rick DeBrule, Jan Beekes on pit road. Our entire ESPN on ABC IndyCar team. We're back again tomorrow at 3:30 Eastern Time for Detroit Grand Prix race number 2. Headline of the day so far, Graham Rahal dominates.
I'll go out on a limb here and say
Let's go to mixed four, so we'll have it for the out lap.
when he pits and it's a successful pit stop, strategy is over.
It's a matter of when the cautions wave, if the cautions wave.
If he pits before the cautions wave, he's in good shape.
What we were saying during break, guys, when we were watching it, just looking at his car is handling so well. He places it wherever he wants to, gets on the throttle quickly, deep braking, and his comment before, the car is working so well, it's getting better as he runs. Not often that happens, and here he is into pit lane.
All right, we're all in out. Pits are open, nice and easy.
Well, this is the day that Graham Rahal has been dreaming of, a perfect day so far. Now, that doesn't mean it couldn't go wrong. Think about this. He was going to start second, and he was a little concerned about that. He thought that meant that Elio Castroneves was going to be able to control the start of this race, but it hasn't happened. He's controlled it. Jan?
Yes, and there's a crossover. Of course, you could see that 11-second gap that Alexander Rossi had coming in now disappears briefly on pit road, but he has to take the service. Brand new black Firestones. They make a front wing change. Much quicker stop. That was a quicker stop than his first one, and now his job, of course, is to try and catch Graham Rahal, but Graham Rahal has had everything going his way so far.
Yeah, look at the distance between Rahal and Rossi with a couple of cars now in between. There's Castroneves back into the picture. Oriol Servia there in the 16 car is running in 5th with Castroneves in 6th. James Hinchcliffe is the new leader of the race for the moment, with Dixon and Newgarden 2nd and 3rd. Hinch's team has tires laid out on the pit lane.
What a great race Hinchcliffe has had so far.
There he is. There's the gap, 1st to 2nd at the moment. And you hear the command.
And James has been happy with the balance of the car, and he's one lap later than those that he's battling. That'll help him just a little bit to use some fuel. But again, what an incredible comeback for James Hinchcliffe. A quick stop, 9.4 seconds.
Worked with us earlier. Hinchcliffe started 5th, spun around in turn 1, came to a stop in turn 2 without hitting anything. They got him refired, and he joined the tail end of the field without losing a lap. They made a pit stop there and have worked his strategy along with a pretty good car and a very nice drive to gain back some of that track position. You see he slides in between Rahal and Rossi on the track. So a pass on the pit lane there, and through the strategy for Hinchcliffe over Rossi.
So now it's a sprint till the end of the race, Scott.
At this point in time, when you go and you make changes during your pit stops on tire pressure, or we saw some wing adjustments, drivers are relating information during the run back to the teams, telling them where they're having a problem and what they need to do. As we watch Dixon come into pit lane, let's see if he does any wing changes, but possibly even some tire pressure changes to improve the car.
Here comes Dixon. Doc?
2012 winner of this race and 4-time series champion. Dixon has not complained one bit about the car. 4 sticker primary Blackwall tires, front wing adjustment though. Got to get it full of fuel. Right in front of him, Joseph Newgarden. Got to get it full of fuel. And a little bit of delay leaving cost him maybe a second. 8.5 seconds. They were through with the stop at about 7.6.
Tony Kanaan, Carlos Munoz also pitting on this lap. Oriol Servia pitted the lap before. He's going to get a pass-through penalty for a pit lane speeding violation. Newgarden and Marco, turn 3. Marco will slide ahead. So Graham Rahal cycles back into the lead with some more 3 stoppers, final visits to pit lane still to come. Graham should be done for the race. He's still got 20 laps to go here in Detroit. Saw Helio Castroneves make what would be its final pit stop in the race. Download IndyCar Mobile and access exclusive live in-car cameras, hear driver and pit crew chatter and more, only on Verizon. So from being right behind Graham Rahal in second place, Castroneves is now 25, making 26.1 seconds behind this man, Rahal, and Castroneves back in ninth place. They went for the 3-stop strategy. Right now, Rahal and company are making this 2-stopper work perfectly. Oh, and by the way, they appear to have a great car being driven very well.
How about Dixon running second?
Yeah,
only
what a
at
story.
8.8 seconds from Rahal.
Weren't with us earlier.
You're getting away from Dixon. You're moving away from him.
Dr. Jerry Punch talking with Scott Dixon earlier about the after effects of his terrible crash at Indianapolis a week ago tomorrow. And Doc, boy, he's in second place.
Impressive running. And here's what Chip Ganassi told me. He said, this is a driver, not a daredevil. But think about this, guys. He said, Evel Knievel's longest jump of his career was 141 feet over the Caesar's Palace fountain. He spent 29 days in the hospital. He said, my guy last week went 349 feet in the air and walked away. That's a race car driver. He said, not only is he a great driver, this kid is tough.
Oh, that's for sure, Doc. That's an incredible measurement, too, to just think about that. And again, nothing but praise from Scott for the safety built into these Indy cars and his good fortune and the safety team that was there. But to see him walk away from that crash last Sunday was really, really something. 17 laps to go. Our Honda race rundown here as we ride with the Honda of Graham Rahal. Show you what's happened so far in this race. Turn 1, lap 1, James Hinchcliffe started 5th, and it went around.
We thought that he got tagged from behind, but the car was just what we call loose. Watch this. It goes around. You're out of control. You're just a passenger, but he was restarted. We now know that he's running third. Did a great job to battle back.
Went all the way back to 22nd place at that time. Graham Rahal starting on pole position. And I said it before, a combination of good car, good strategy, and a really great drive.
I have to add hunger. He hasn't had the season he wanted. He's had lots of bad luck, and today he hasn't put one foot wrong.
And the Indianapolis 500 winner, Takuma Sato, started this race in 3rd position, right now running in 7th.
We always talk about the week after winning the Indy 500. Eddie, you've experienced it. Everything you have to do for promotion and PR. Takuma told me he only had 3.5 hours sleep the very first night after winning it, but he continued on. Just looking forward to racing here at Detroit.
But you know that success breeds success. They don't just call him Takuma Sato, they say Takuma Sato, Indianapolis 500 champion now.
That's right.
So you carry that in the car with you, and if you have a difficult moment in the car, you can dig deep into that reservoir, and you'd be amazed at the things you can pull off if you really believe you can. And I wished I could have spoken Japanese when I heard the announcer at the end of that race.
It was fun, wasn't it?
Unbelievable.
Update on Sato's day from Rick.
Yeah, it's important to point out Takuma Sato still does have one more pit stop that he's got to make. Remember, he was up front. He could have tried the same strategy that the leader tried. He just wasn't happy with those red tires in the first stint. As a result, they brought him in. So he does have one more stop to make, and then he's back out to see how he can do with the rest of this pack.
Hi, Rick, thanks.
Rahal is now 8.6 seconds, Allen, in front of Dixon.
Penalty on J.R. Hildebrand for a pit exit violation. Did not stay to the right side of the pit exit line on his departure from his last pit stop. There it is, all by himself in the picture. That's what 8.6 seconds looks like. Nobody in the rearview mirrors. But because after all, what's behind him doesn't concern him, right?
Definitely in this case.
Beautiful scene here in Detroit, Belle Isle, and nice if you're the folks from Honda looking at the leaderboard.
Wow, first, second, third, fifth, all the way down to 10th. That's a lot of cars.
Joseph Newgarden, you saw the pass on Alexander Rossi there for 4th place. So Newgarden, the highest running of the Chevrolet cars at the moment. Castroneves in 9th place, the other in the top 10. Graham Rahal's last win was a year ago next week. Well, actually it wasn't. See, the Texas race started a year ago next week. They had the weather problems. Remember, had to put it off till later in the summer. And then he won that race when it was concluded later on in the season. Could he be going back to victory lane again today? It would be well deserved. He has dominated this race. He's led 43 of the 58 laps that have been completed so far from pole position. That Texas finish, it was a classic. Hinchcliffe coming to his outside, and there it was, by that much.
You don't have to win by that much. Could have been half of that.
Probably one of the most difficult oval tracks I think that we ever ran on. Eddie, you and I had some great battles there. Just the high banking there. Not only the G-forces, but it pushes you in just like a roller coaster. I loved it.
And you can never relax there. Right now, one thing I know for sure, that Rahal feels every vibration in his car. He can hear the engine. He's worried about things that are going to break because he's so close and he's been so dominant. Something external would have to stop him from winning.
Now, seriously.
I was serious.
I've heard drivers say that a lot, but really, did you really feel and think about that stuff when you're trying to keep it between the walls and hit your gear shifts? And
everything, because you have a lead. You don't have that many laps to go. He can put his car wherever he wants. So I think maybe it didn't happen to him, but to me, my mind would wonder, and I would start thinking about trying to make the gear shift a little bit smoother. Now they don't have to do that, making sure I didn't miss my braking point, and you try to cut the risk down as much as you can. But he knows he has a 7.6 lead, and nobody has been able to touch him today. He's been in a league of his own.
Well, that's where I wanted to go with that, because originally it was a 9-second lead. Just a while ago it was 8. So for Scott Dixon, he's starting to click off just a little bit of time. Does he have enough here just with the remaining laps left to go? But you talked about making your shifts. Obviously we have paddle shifts on here. I would think now for Graham, the only thing that's in the back of his mind is that Honda has had a few engine failures recently, including Indianapolis. So in your mind, that's what you're thinking about just a little bit. Otherwise, you're just marching forward and hoping everything is perfect.
But you cannot compare the engine stress that an engine goes through at Indianapolis, where you are full throttle for 95% of the time, compared to this place. This place, you're on and off the throttle. I think the car has a harder workout than it does at Indy 500, but not the engine. If I was him, I would feel very confident that, but you're right, that's in the back of his mind.
Marco Andretti, Ryan Hunter-Ray are racing there back for 12th and 13th. That's about the closest fight on the track right now, as the field has gotten a little bit strung out. Back for the finish after this from your ABC station. The Detroit Grand Prix for the Verizon IndyCar Series down to its final 8 laps. Graham Rahal has dominated the day so far, has a 6.6 second lead over Scott Dixon, working his way toward what potentially would be his 5th career win.
And he has 2 cars ahead of him that are battling fiercely for position. Let's hope they see the blue flag.
Esteban Gutierrez and Oriol Servia. Servia a teammate, so he gives way.
That makes his job a lot easier.
Yes, it does. So Graham Rahal married to NHRA drag racer Courtney Force. The NHRA folks are up in New Hampshire at the New England Nationals this week, and last night Courtney Force had a wild ride up in Epping. Car on the right side of your picture. And look at that.
It's amazing what they do. Look at the back wheels are off the ground, almost out of control.
Fortunately, she was fine, as you see. Qualified second for the event, and now they may back up that. Talk about the highs and lows of racing and being in a high-stress profession, right? They're in separate cities doing their thing. That happens in one city, and he may end up going to victory lane in the other.
That was an incredible accident.
And Courtney's father, John Force, said last night in the telecast the main thing that he was thinking about once he found out his daughter was okay was to get word to Graham Rahal that his wife was okay, because Graham certainly would have heard about it maybe as he was on track.
So everything among the lead group is kind of spread out at the moment. It's 6.2 seconds back to Dixon from Rahal. Scott running second. He's got about 5 seconds on Hinchcliffe in third. It's about a second from Hinchcliffe to Joseph Newgarden, who is in fourth. Newgarden using a 3-stop strategy in this one, and the highest up of those that have done that. Although I guess technically Hinch was on a 3-stop strategy because he stopped after the spin on lap 1. Then Alexander Rossi has faded back to 5th place, 22 seconds off the race lead. Alushin, Sato, Castroneves, Ed Jones, Spencer Piggott back there rounding out your top 10. For Ed Jones, a guy who said he was kind of lost, felt like they just had something wrong with their car after qualifying this morning. Nice solid day and a nice solid recovery for the 19.
Well, don't forget it's now 2 rookies on that team with Dale Coyne Racing, obviously with Sebastian Bourdais being out. And Sebastian, obviously a 36 race winner and also won here at Detroit, has a lot of experience that he could guide those rookies for. But Ed's saying, you know something, he still calls, he's on the phone, he's trying to give me tips, originally from his hospital bed, but now from his home in St. Petersburg, Florida. A true teammate.
What I find to be really shocking is Pagenaud in a Penske is 16th. And Power is 18th.
Yeah,
that's unheard of to have Penske cars that far back here in Detroit.
And again, the implications on the championship. Simon Pagenaud came in today, tied for second in the championship. He's running back in 16th.
5 laps to go. Dixon's about 8 seconds back. You have the 18 between you.
Helio Castroneves started the day as the championship leader. He's running back in 8th. Scott Dixon started the day just off the lead. He was tied with Pagenaud for second in the championship. He is running second in the race. So another potential shakeup as Sato comes in and has to take a splash of fuel.
Sato was another guy that was just hoping desperately for a yellow, and it never came.
I'm wondering if they didn't get the fuel into the car they intended to back at the...
I'm wondering the same thing.
Hey guys, I can add on that. They were always planning that they had to do another stop all along. They were just hoping, like you said, that they were going to get some yellows that were going to be able to stretch it out. But they knew all along they were going to have to do an extra stop.
All right, well, so much for that finish. That's right, you did tell us that a little while ago. My bad, Rick.
We haven't heard one radio transmission from Dixon complaining of his ankle, but I'm quite sure, Scott, it's incredibly painful by now. These last 5 laps to go, it just takes a lot of discipline to keep your mind on the job of driving and trying to catch the leader.
Did you really think you'd hear Scott Dixon complain?
I think Scott Dixon actually is
4
New
laps
Zealand.
to go, 7.5 seconds back to Dixon with the 18 between you.
I think Dixon is a New Zealand James Bond. When he did that crash at Indy, his interview was as if he had just gone to buy ice cream for his kids. Yes, it was quite a ride, wasn't it? I had never seen an accident like that.
The only time you would have heard Scott Dixon complain is if the doctors had told him he couldn't race. Then he would have complained.
But it would have been 2 words.
But his mom did send a note to him earlier this week, and when they chatted, and said that she wasn't very happy with him. I think anytime you see your son going through the air like that, and I think about my mom when I was racing and had crashes and things like that, and now having a son that's starting to race, you know, you do think about that sort of stuff.
Will Power just went a lap down to Graham Rahal. Wow, so it's a struggling day for Power, who again came into the race just 59 points off the lead in the championship. We were talking about Scott Dixon, and Doc spent a good bit of time with him yesterday after the conclusion of all the day's activities.
Yeah, it's amazing how Scotty didn't want people talking about his injury, talking about what he had endured at Indianapolis. He sort of got bashful about it. He said, I don't want people talking about my left ankle, my left leg. If it's broken, it's not broken. He said, I want to focus on what's going on here. But yesterday, late in the afternoon, when we sat and visited, he admitted that this is going to be a very difficult day. He said, my biggest concern is going to be fatigue, exactly what Eddie Cheever said a moment ago. The last 4 or 5 laps, being able to hang on. He said, I can push the brake pedal, but getting my foot off the pedal is very difficult. And then Saturday night, getting back in that ice bucket, getting the Advil back, and being able to use that foot again on Sunday. Right now, he's just trying to hang on. But you're right, he has not complained. He has not said a single word.
That's Scott Dixon.
Yeah, what a tremendous drive.
He always has the option, though, of not using that left leg and using his right leg to use the brake.
I would assume, not having driven one of these race cars you guys have, that's a little claustrophobic, finding a place to get that left foot out of the way. I mean, there's not exactly a ton of leg room down in there.
Yeah, but it depends how much it hurts.
Yeah, there you go.
If it hurts bad enough, you'll find the room.
How about this?
Sorry.
How about this driver, and how about this team and the performance that they've put on today? Graham Rahal said they've had speed, but he's been used to starting kind of back in the pack. And he thought if they could qualify up front here, they had a really good chance. Well, he qualified on the pole, and he is going to take the white flag next time by in position to lead all but 15 laps of this race.
If you're looking at it from our perspective, he has had the perfect race. There's been nothing dramatic. His lines are perfect. He hasn't blocked any tires under braking. He's gotten through lap traffic really well, and he's making it look easy.
Well, when you mentioned easy, what I watch for here, and for the fans at home, when you watch guys go around the racetrack, the cars that are bouncing around, those are the ones that are hard to drive. You see that green flashing light that was right behind Graham's head. That's the push to pass that we talk about. He's taking advantage of it now, using it, getting some more horsepower to try and stretch his lead a little bit from Dixon. He's very comfortable, but he's using it. He's being a smart race driver. And what I watch for in Graham's cars, it's going over all the bumps like it's got air suspension. The car is working so well for him, better than everybody else's, and he's doing a perfect job by driving it and not making a mistake.
An illustration of him having speed as he comes to take the white flag and start the last lap at Detroit, the last road course race on the road course circuit at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Graham Rahal started deep in the field. He started 20th and finished 6th. You do that, yeah, a little by strategy, but mostly by having a good race car, driving the wheels off it, and passing cars.
Well, and the other thing that's really impressive is that this usually, with the exception of this weekend and last week in Indianapolis, is a single car team going against the powerhouses like Penske, like Andretti, and like Ganassi that have 3 or 4 cars on their teams to get information, data, and make the cars better, especially on a street circuit like this that you don't get a chance to test at. That's the impressive thing that I see right now with Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing, and Graham Rahal.
But this racetrack does that every now and again. It has surprise winners, and it's nice to see Rahal's team get right back in front where they need to be. Obviously, qualifying in pole made his job a lot easier today.
Yeah, and I wouldn't call him a surprise winner though. He has been so strong last year as a single car team, and this year he's done an astounding job.
Final 2 corners. Seventh different winner in 7 races this season for the Verizon IndyCar Series, and career win number 5 to Graham Rahal at Detroit.
All right. Thank you. Hey, it's my first win in Detroit, my hometown. Great job, buddy. Great job. You just controlled this whole race. Mix 8. Woo-hoo-hoo! We won, baby.
did not just win, you dominated.
Man, was that nice.
I guess. Great drive for Scott Dixon in second. Great recovery for James Hinchcliffe to take the final spot on the podium. But this day was all about this third generation driver from New Albany, Ohio, Graham Rahal. And you hear the applause from the fans as he comes back around this race course.
I only have one word, and that's dominant from the start to the end.
Their sponsor of this race donating money for lap sled and things like that. It's gonna be a lot of money contributed to the cause today with that win. The extra kick in as well there.
And how important is it for a Honda to win here at Detroit?
I'm sure they enjoyed it.
I'm sure they do. It'll be interesting to see what the Penske team comes up with tomorrow.
Well, that's the hard part of it, right? Congratulations, you just won.
Yeah, do it again tomorrow.
Got to do it again tomorrow.
Well, on the other side of that too, guys, if you didn't do well and you had a bad weekend, then you're going to go and put everything together tonight, work with the engineers, come back with a new strategy for tomorrow, and hopefully have a better race car underneath you and get a chance to redeem yourself.
And rumor has it, it might be raining tomorrow. And that would really add a little extra excitement. And I wouldn't get wet because I'm inside here.
I can't believe you actually said that.
I love watching these races in the wet. I feel sorry for the public, but it's always interesting.
Ed Jones' car had apparently run out of fuel, did not make it back around to the pit lane, but the winner did.
Sure makes up for that horrible accident his wife had yesterday.
What a drive from Scott Dixon.
No fuss, Dixon.
All right, Graham Rahal, you have finished second here. You have finished third here. You have finished fourth here. Oh, yeah, and did I mention that your father, Bobby Rahal, won here? How good does this feel as he gets congratulations from the entire crew?
Feels awesome, you know, just everything went according to plan today. And, you know, I said yesterday, one of my comments was that I felt like if I could qualify up front, I could dominate this race. And I got a lot of heat by the other drivers for that comment, but I think we did it. And I don't say things unless I believe it. And today, this car, United Rentals, Turns for Troops, we raised a lot of money to help our vets. But man, I can't tell you how good it feels. I mean, it's day one of two. We got tomorrow to do, but trust me, today it feels extremely rewarding. This year has not been easy for this team.
Let's talk about the emotions of a weekend. Yesterday, we saw the video of your wife in that in the dragster flaming out on the run. You know, you have to go through something like that, and then you come into a race like today. What are the emotions of a racing family like?
Well, I wasn't very happy last night, I can tell you that, and she'll tell you that. Obviously, I don't like seeing stuff like that. You know, I mean, I guess it's the nature of the beast, but certainly as a husband, I don't like to see it. But anyway, she's all right, which is good, and hopefully she can get a win there tomorrow. But look, you know, I've been pretty focused on what's going on here. You know, I wanted to win. I wanted to get a win for this team, for United Rentals, Steak and Shake, Pengrade, all of our partners, Hyatt, that have put so much into this. And it feels good to get a win for Honda here in Detroit. So pretty special day, and oh man, hopefully we can go do it again tomorrow.
Well, Graham Rahal does have one more shot at it tomorrow. See if he can pull off a double weekend. Doc?
With second place finisher and new points leader, Scott Dixon. Scott, what a courageous effort. First of all, how difficult was that?
It was a tough race no matter what. You know, just physically for me it was tougher than normal. I think I was favoring a lot of things, but just so proud of the whole Camping World crew. They did an amazing job. We kind of missed a little bit on one of the swap overs there with the pit strategy, but car was fast. I probably couldn't get the most out of it, but we were kind of there. But it's great for points. So stoked for the team, man. It's such a big day for them, and I'm gonna give a shout out to my grandmother in New Zealand. She's not doing too well. I think she's on her last legs, unfortunately. So I want to say hello to my family down there too, and hope everybody's doing okay.
Our thoughts with her as well. Let me ask you about tomorrow. Now, what can you do tonight to make the car and maybe the ankle a little bit better tomorrow for you?
Definitely going to go back to my RV here and put my foot in a big bucket of ice and see if I can cool it off. Hopefully get some good rest tonight. Obviously qualifying is going to be key for tomorrow as well. So we've got to come out blazing. We've definitely got to improve the car. It's not perfect right now, but also a big congrats to Graham. I know that team's been having a bit of a rough year. So congrats to him and congrats to Honda, especially in Detroit. This is a big deal.
And congratulations to Scott Dixon, the new points leader. What an effort today. What courage in the car. Asked him if the radio was broken. He said, no, I just didn't have anything to say.
All right, Doc. And so after the first of two here in the Motor City, there are the championship standings. You see Dixon now takes over the lead. Castroneves slips back to second. And Pagenaud dropping a little bit deeper into the group, down in fourth position. How about Ed Jones, seventh in the championship for a rookie? And for Graham Rahal, position changes, yes, but some ground to be made up, yes, to overcome some of those early season difficulties that he alluded to. Dominant, you bet. And a winner today in Detroit, Graham Rahal.